So the big question is this: how do investors like us who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hey guys, John Moody here with the Stock Market Secrets Podcast. Super excited to talk to you guys today about things that don't matter. It's kind of funny because I feel like people don't spend enough time focusing on what they should be focusing on, which is so weird, right? So you'll have, a lot of times I see people, they start investing and they're worried about, these small little things with their investments, or what kind of funds they're getting into. Maybe small things like, excuse me, thank you, where they're starting with, or the capital base, stuff like that, rather than just getting in there and doing it. And then a lot of times people worry about things that just don't really matter, right? What is this keyboard work for day trading or for 9 to noon or whatever? Or how much experience you have to start. And it's eventually, right, you get to this point where, you just have to get in the game and crush it. And so when I was getting up this morning, I was thinking, just doing some awesome content creation for you guys in the Think and Grow Rich Masterclass. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be awesome. But right now, there's so many things that are important to me, but that's the one thing I'm focusing on right now. And I'm just ignoring all the things that don't matter. For sure that I'm working on 100%, right? But the primary focus goes towards things that matter, right? So, the stuff that doesn't matter, it's not going to have a material impact on my life after, a couple weeks now, right? What shirt I'm wearing or what shoes I put on this morning. That doesn't matter. And so when I'm spending my time, my energy, my capital, everything I have is all focused on things that matter, both immediately and in the long term, right? So it's not as big of a deal, for instance, right, I'm running class because running's so important. You guys heard that last podcast about running. Super, super cool. And that's been so awesome in helping me get a ton of extra work crammed in for the book, the funnel launch. I'm so excited about that. That's going to be awesome. And it's just helped get financial education to so many people. I'm just so passionate about that. It's going to be amazing. I look like a total doofus, running from place to place, but it doesn't matter because I know that the impact from that is going to be so huge. And if I get up this hill, it's going to be so huge that just this temporary, whatever, short-term impacts just don't matter. And you have to completely ignore, stuff that doesn't matter, what random people think about you. Because, a lot of times you won't see someone, ever again in your whole life after they meet you, which is just crazy because it's whoa, right? But you can have a first impression on someone. And first impressions are super, super important. They definitely matter. But a lot of times people just forget about you, or it just doesn't matter, right? If there are 20 people and they're all wow, who's this weird kid running to sociology? But then at the same time, it's they probably are never gonna see me again. And then if they do, we get to know each other and we're oh yeah, that was kind of funny, right? Because it just doesn't matter. So maybe focusing more so on yourself, right? The internal development and belief that you have in yourself and your principles and your actions and everything that you do, so that when it gets time to really go hard, you're focusing exclusively on things that matter, and you can start to just completely ignore stuff that doesn't matter, the opinions of other people, and that's important, market research, market depth, whatever, right? But a lot of times you just have to go so ridiculously hard doing your own thing, because that's how you set yourself up to achieve the exact thing that you want, which is so powerful. And it all comes from that focus on what matters, right? So you're doing the actions that get results in the marketplace, right? You're not, tiddling around figuring out, if your hair is going to go left or right on the video, or if you need to have a plush chair or the leather chair at your trading desk, that doesn't matter. What matters is having an internet and having a computer and having enough monitors, and you'll be freaking good. You just go on your brokerage account and figure out which brake on this bike is less squeaky, and there you go, you're done. It's super, super powerful, and it all comes from that distinction between what matters and what doesn't, right? So if you got 4 kids and everyone's going out on their scooters, they're having an amazing time. Everyone's just having an awesome time. What's really more important? Is it having the scooter, or is it what brand of the scooter, what color of the scooter, or all these very minute details that, maybe at the purchase time or checkout or whatever might sound important. They could have an impact, but like in reality, you're going to have about the same experience in the same time frame, uh, no matter which version of, whatever scooter you get or whatever you do. It all comes down at a very fundamental level to just deciding to take action, because once you make that decision, so much more follows through from it that it just doesn't matter. It's so, so, so powerful. And it all stems from that initial ability to take action and crush it, right? So there's like a golf course over here, and these guys, they have this tent. This tent is awesome, right? It's got this cool logo on top. Now, I want to talk about logos more because graphic design and professionalism and stuff like that is something I see a whole lot, especially with like companies that are starting. And what happens is people will get so focused, so ridiculously caught up on stuff that doesn't matter. They're like, oh, I don't like the way that this line in the logo looks, or I don't like the shade of blue on this cup, that we're selling, or something like that. But in reality, it doesn't freaking matter, right? There's this really powerful thing on your left. Thank you. Where if you're launching websites or companies or whatever, where you'll look at the marketplace results, and you'll split test, right? So you might have one version of a website and it's like blue, and then another version's pink, and you're like, dude, I don't know which one's better because it doesn't matter. So you just run tests to your website. You just send people to it and see which one converts better, right? And then once you do that, you can apply that same mindset to financial markets. You take an ABCD setup 10 times and you just see what happens, right? Because, statistically, you should crush it. And then if you crush it, you keep doing the things that work, right? And that's why it's important to practice technical indicators and technical setups before you go super hard into them. Because a lot of times you need to get that grasp on what really works. And the way you do that for so many people is through marketplace experience. After you get that education, after you understand exactly what you're trying to do, and you have the background to really be able to start applying it in a profitable manner instead of starting out negative, which is super important. And that's where you start to see a ton of power come from financial education, which is awesome. It's so cool. And then once you have that, you just apply it in the marketplace and you focus on what matters. There's a ton of information out there about finances, about trading, about all this stuff. And a lot of it is amazing. It'll change your life. And that's why I wrote 9 to Noon. But other parts of it are just kind of like, I don't know if that really matters. Like, I talk about Ikimoku clouds for about 2 sentences in like chapter 28, because I think it was chapter 20. It might have been like it was the one on stochastics, I think. Or moving averages, yeah. And it was like, this stuff doesn't matter, and you have to focus on the technical indicators that matter, that you can consistently trade for amazing profits over and over, rather than worrying about all the options, because there are tons of options in financial markets, both for stocks and for indicators, everything you could think of that is an option for you to trade. I mean, there are even options, right? And it's really important to be able to distill down the information and the content that matters and focus on stuff that matters instead of the crap that just isn't going to have an impact. Hello. Thank you. You guys are the best. And it applies, really in all aspects of whatever you do. Because you always want to get, those 80% of results from the 20% of your effort. And you see it so many times. I don't think I've read the 80-20 principle, but it's like so powerful, because in all aspects of life, you start to see the majority of results from a minority of work. And once you can identify that, you start to work exclusively on the minority of work that actually produces results. And you start to create this insane dynamic in the marketplace where instead of focusing on crap that doesn't matter, you're actually doing the most important work and getting the maximum possible yield for your efforts, because you're able to focus on getting whatever matters done. It's super impactful and super important to be able to have that clarity. And that all comes from that overarching long-term goal, that sense of self, like the secret formula of wealth creation and Think Grow Rich. It's like all based on that extreme mental clarity of the one thing that you want to do, and then identifying that and using that formula to crush it, because you have this surreal focus on exclusively the things that matter, right? It's like putting on a pair of sunglasses, and then those sunglasses only allow you to see the crap that matters, and you have discipline in your head to completely ignore the stuff that just doesn't matter. It's not going to have an impact. And a lot of times it doesn't, you might not see right away what that stuff is. It might be difficult to understand, hey, what's seriously holding me back in this situation. And sometimes you need an outside view, an outside look into your world to help with that. And that's why mentors and coaches are so powerful and so amazingly helpful at assessing what you're doing and then helping you to create the maximum possible output based on that outside view that you might be missing, right? We talked about that wasp yesterday who just needed to take a little step back to realize there was a massive door open instead of slamming itself into a window over and over to try to get outside. And it's applying that same mentality of just getting a little bit of help, a little bit of education, a little bit of growth mentorship from individuals, and using that to, because those are the people that have gone through the crap and figured out, what doesn't matter and what does matter. And so once you can take advantage of their histories, of their past, you can skyrocket your success by just modeling what they do, instead of having to go through the whole discovery process on your own, right? It's you just do what the super successful people are doing, and now all of a sudden you're in this insane positioning in the marketplace that most people just ignore, where you're able to focus exclusively on the work that matters by looking at what other people are doing, and then just completely ignore the stuff that doesn't work, that they tried and tested, but they just couldn't get to work. So if you look at what they're not doing, they don't do that. It's when you're starting, right? Maybe you get super advanced and stuff over time, but at the beginning, it's all based on your individual application of proven principles. This applies in so many aspects of life, way beyond financial markets, but specifically in financial markets, right? Like if you just do what the really successful people are doing, right? Like think about it like this, and I say this all the time because it's so ridiculously important, right? You look at the top 1%, look at the top 10%, and what do you know? Those are the people that own a vast majority of assets in the American economy, the most powerful economic system on the globe. It's insane. So you think, okay, well, maybe these people know what's going on because they're very wealthy. And as it turns out, the people that own assets take advantage of long-term compounding wealth ridiculously easily, right? This is like Millionaire Next Door stuff. You look at it's buying assets and building their wealth with long-term capital. It's insane. It's so powerful. And that's the easy way, too, because they're not even freaking doing anything. They just let the stuff go, and it happens. Hey, thanks so much. And people look at that, and instead of saying, wow, maybe I should invest in assets and start to create long-term wealth too, even if it's just a little bit to start with, that's okay. You know what? That can be very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Change your living situation based entirely on owning investments that accrue interest and create wealth by growing in value over time. So instead of you working, or instead of trading your time for money, or instead of trading your energy and efforts for money, now you can use the money that you have to turn it into more money. Become an investor in yourself, an investment in the economy, investment in assets that are going to just radically grow your wealth and create more income for you to put into more assets. Really, really, really powerful underlying concept. And it all comes from this accumulation method. So take that and apply it. So think, if you're understanding that makes sense. You're all good. Now you look at what the top 1% are doing. What are these guys doing to build wealth? A lot of them is businesses. A lot of them is just putting the crap in stocks. And it crushes it over time historically with that long-term return. It's really, really powerful stuff. So instead of saying, hey, look, we should, punish these guys. Yesterday we talked about a proposed tax on stock trades, because these guys are wealthy. Maybe instead of doing that, just ethically copy the people that are out there crushing it, creating tons and tons of wealth, just copy them and do exactly what they're doing. Because once you do that, suddenly you're able to do pretty much the exact same thing they're doing, because it's not like a hidden secret of financial markets. For a lot of people, they just don't have that education at the beginning, and because of that, they just don't start to accrue wealth. It's crazy. And it's just a very fundamental idea of starting and then committing to your financial future. Just get it done over time, based almost exclusively on the principle that you can crush it as soon as you start to go. And it's super powerful. And you don't have to be full blast, right? Like, you can still. Yesterday, you guys, we're biking over to this science center because I asked one of the professors where I could find a science teacher professor. And so this lady Nicole, she tells me, hey, go to this place, and she gives me a map and points to it. So I take out Google Maps, and it was like a half hour away, so I didn't go the day before, but I went yesterday, right? So I was going there, and it was like probably like a 40-minute bike ride. I don't know. You guys can tell her how long the podcast was. And after that bike ride, I get there, and the lady's like, yeah, I don't know what's up, but basically, we're not part of Georgia Tech. We're part of Georgia State University. So that one kind of fell through pretty quickly. So because of that, I had to go back, and it was fun. We got podcasts done. We were in a little bit of rush. It was super fun. If you guys heard yesterday's episode, you know it was up. And what happened was, instead of focusing on that ride, right, or thinking, about the stuff that didn't matter, you focus instead on, okay, well, what's next? You got to move forward. You got to take failure with pleasure, right? Because failure is part of the process. It's just a stepping stone to getting to that success, right? If you're pushing yourself and you're pushing your limits, which please push yourself, push your limits, you're going to encounter trouble along the way. It's not going to come perfectly. And that's okay. That's normal. That's how it should be, because all of a sudden you're able to completely separate yourself from these personal feelings of unworthiness and doubt, versus originally having the mindset that you're never going to fail. You can't be afraid of failure, because if you're really going to grow, you're really going to push yourself, that failure will come, and that's okay. That's normal. That's awesome, because once you have that, you can overcome it. It gets you stronger and stronger. No, it doesn't feel good. Losing $100,000 in a crypto crash was not a pleasurable experience. I can tell you guys that one for sure. But I think that has completely changed my investing career, the advice I give, like everything. I think fundamental financial indicators, just the underlying psychological mindset, a ton of stuff, intellectual growth that I've distilled down to 90 that I know will pay me dividends for years and years to come. All of that information would not have stemmed if I didn't have that loss, and it didn't have that underlying shift of literally losing so much. Because now I'm in that positioning where it's like, well, what do you do if you lose someone's portfolio? Well, let me tell you a story, because I freaking lost it. It was terrible, man. Awful. And now that I've had that experience, it's just so valuable in the ways that I'm able to connect with maybe an older generation of people that have hundreds of thousands in wealth, hundreds of thousands in assets, millions and millions in assets, hundreds of millions in assets. I have so many people. It's just insane levels of wealth. And like, in a way, I feel connected to that. It's like, yeah, I was there. And I'm about my way. Whoa! Oh my gosh! There's an IKEA. Okay, so there's an IKEA on the way to school. And like, if I hit something, like, I will fall. It's not a question. So there's like this shopping cart in the middle of the sidewalk, and it's just humongous. Oh man. I'll tell you what, I was reading 50 Inventions That Changed the World. I'm about to finish that one up. I'll give you guys an awesome book review on it over on YouTube. Can't wait to share with you some of the awesome principles that come out of that once I get that review done, once I finish the book. And he was talking about IKEA, and they were talking about this one cabinet. Whoa. And with this one cabinet, they had made millions and millions and millions. It's like the most mass-produced bookshelf. It was a bookshelf. It was the biggest bookshelf in the whole wide world. And they had this huge factory. It's making millions and millions of these bookshelves. People would put them together when they get home. and they were just shipping out crate after crate after crate. And it all came down to like the underlying corporate growth of IKEA, because the guy who started it focused on what mattered, not what didn't matter. This man was like Jeff Bezos. He lived in a small house. He had a tiny, tiny little car. I don't know about the house, but he definitely had a tiny, tiny little car. And he was in ridiculously cheap clothes. In the interview that was in the book, he said that he literally got his clothes from the thrift shop. Like, this man's huge multi-millionaire. It was insane how much wealth he had. And he was living like he was dirt broke. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because he was making cabinets, he was making bookshelves. He was focusing exclusively on what mattered and what actually produced results in the marketplace. And the instant that he did that, he just couldn't help but accrue more and more and more and more wealth. And it all stemmed from this internal obsession to focus on what had an impact, focus on what mattered, not what didn't. I'll tell you what else he did. He went over to like Sweden so that he would be able to avoid taxes for like, I think it was like 5 years. That was what he said. I'd have to double check that. It's in the book for sure. And but he went to avoid these taxes, right? So he leaves his home where he's manufacturing all this furniture, and he goes out to avoid these taxes because he focused on what mattered. Oh my gosh, guys, you get this? This man is uber successful, one of the wealthiest people on this planet. And the way he did it, please don't focus on that one small thing he did, because he brought so much value to the marketplace over his entire career. That one small thing he did, it sucks, but like he was crushing it. He was doing it for everyone. So he went and he focused on what mattered. He focused on what brought revenue into his company, what kept revenue into his company, into his personal life. And he used that as rocket fuel to explode his personal, his life, his whole life. And even though his life, right, he wasn't focusing on the crap that didn't matter. He didn't care, what car he was driving, because it didn't matter to him. He focused on what mattered to him. I'm not saying that maybe you shouldn't care about your car or your clothes or whatever. To each their own. You have to figure out what matters. You have to figure out what's important to you and focus on that, right? Because once you have that focus, all of a sudden, everything you do is going to align with that. You're going to create this internal structure of belief and of growth that can fundamentally change everything you do, based almost exclusively on your ability to focus on precisely what matters and absolutely nothing else. Ignore not everything else if it doesn't have an impact immediately on exactly what you want to do. It's a very, very, very powerful underlying concept. And because of that, you're going to start to create this insane level of success and wealth and creation in everything you do. It's really, really, really cool. Cool stuff. And it's a lot to learn from these guys that, essentially they started, really with almost nothing. And now they're out there crushing it. And they're doing an amazing job. And it's all because they took their company, they took their investments, they took themselves so seriously. They were not allowed to focus on crap that didn't matter. They only put in effort into the principal investments of their lives that made a significant impact. They only focused on what mattered. So please, think about your life, think about what you're doing, think about what you're investing in, thinking about the liabilities that you're taking on, and understand precisely what it is that will make sense for you to focus on. And then once you have that, focus on it, right? And only worry about the things that matter. Because once you do that, once you're in this insane ability to generate the exact results that you want in the marketplace, everything's going to click into gear. Because now, instead of pedaling that bike, in second gear when you should really be in like eighth, on this flat straightaway, and because you're not focusing, because you're not thinking about it, you're going to have this clear mental image, and this very, very strong internal strength and intelligence, belief, discipline, whatever you want to call success. It's going to allow you to create results in the marketplace that are just insane. They crush. Thank you. the performance of anything else around you, because you understand at a very fundamental level the exact things that are important for you to focus on, and then you do absolutely nothing. Thank you. But just use those to crush it. It's a really, really, really powerful underlying concept, and it all comes down to like the 80-20 principle and focusing on the stuff that freaking matters. So please, please, please take this to heart. Don't worry about stuff that doesn't matter. Just let it blow over you. Let it fly past you. You know what? You can get a little bit wet in the rain. You're not going to melt. It's okay. Subdue through short-term pain to finally reach long-term gain. Thank you so much, guys. Hope you got a ton of value out of this. Have an amazing day. And go out there and crush it. I'll see you later. Thanks. Want more stock market secrets? If so, go get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You can get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% per trade daily.